people know this. Your KPI is what you're going to be judged by.
And it also goes to the point, if you join an organization and they do not give you a KPI, that's a red flag.
Do you guys even like listening to HR podcasts where we go deeper into uncovering human dynamics in the workplace? Or do you think that we are just tools for management or the fun police?
Welcome to the other side of HR, where we spill the tea, debunk the lies and the myths, and navigate the corporate world together. So buckle up and enjoy the ride as we dive into the truth, the lies, and everything in between.
Hello guys, welcome to another episode of
The Other Side of HR. On today's episode, we'll be talking about performance improvement plan, if it's genuine support or it's the first step to terminating an employee. Jackie, do you want to start us off with what performance improvement plan means?
Basically, the short form of performance improvement plan is PIP. So just in case you ever hear the word PIP, that has to do with performance improvement plan. It's a structured plan to address performance gaps. Basically, if there's a notice that you are not meeting your target, you are not meeting expectation, and it's been going on for a long period of time, a performance improvement plan will be introduced.
Exactly. Okay, so on lighter notes, you know how when a girl is going through or like is dating someone who is toxic and her friend says, hey, we'll have to stage an intervention for this girl. That's what PIP is, You're not meeting your target. You're not doing what is right. So the organization says, we have to stage an intervention for you. So that's what PIP is an intervention to ensure that employees who are struggling with their performance, are able to do better. So now we'll be talking about like what the structure of the PIP is supposed to look like. So for instance, right, an employee has been working in an organization, say for a year, right? And that employee started off, first 6 months, person is doing very well, so much so that the organization is willing to confirm the employee as a full-time employee, right? And after a while, the things that this person has been doing, meeting his target, doing very well, the person starts to slack off. You're given a target that, at the end of 3 months, you're supposed to submit this, that report, achieve this, that. And they start to notice that over time, this person isn't achieving that. This person isn't, doing what is expected of him. At that stage, the first has to be a conversation between the person and the line manager saying, what's happening, right? Why are you not meeting your target? Why is this happening? I have called you, I've sent you emails, I've reminded you to do what you need to do. Why are you not doing it? Why are we having this issue? And after that has happened, after you've spoken to the person and the person is still not meeting the target that the person is supposed to meet. And we need to, first of all, even state that the person must be able to meet the target, which is very, very important. For instance,
so basically, you're saying that in the first place, the target has to be realistic.
It has to be, because it's one thing to say that, Precious, you need to be able to churn out Power BI reports, but you don't give me a registered Power BI license to be able to do that, So first of all, it has to be realistic and also achievable, right? And when the person is unable to meet the achievable results over and over and over time, after there has been conversations, they've been, helped to actually help the person say, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you're supposed to do it, and the person can't do it, then the intervention of PIP comes in play.
It's also important to know that as a line manager or as a boss, whatever it is, right, before you can actually determine that someone is PIP, also check yourself. Have you also provided support to this person? So how somebody comes into a new job, and ideally as a line manager during the onboarding process. The onboarding process is typically when a new employee joins, and you're trying to walk them through the ropes of the organization. Ensure that, like Professor just mentioned, ensure that the roles are specifically explained. Ensure that the targets they are realistic and they are measurable, because you can give targets, it's realistic, but at the end of the day, how am I measuring it? Just ensure that the person understands all of this from A to Z, so that when the time comes around for the PIP, you are also exonerated. You know that you have done your best in ensuring that this person understood what is required of them. Also, are you also supporting them? Because most of the time, people join organizations and line manager just assume that they should know it. even sometimes for senior roles, you assume that because the person has what 6, 7 years of experience, they should already know. No, because it's a new environment. You need to walk them through the ropes to just ensure that they have all the support that they need on that job before you can actually say somebody needs a PIP. Because that might just sometimes after maybe what 1 or 2 conversations, just say, oh, HR, please put this person on PIP. So I just wanted to just note that.
I love the fact that you just really raised this. And I think that it's important to actually reiterate that you cannot place a new employee on PIP.
Nope.
An employee that has just spent 2 months, 3 months with your organization, you cannot say that, oh, you're placing that person on PIP. Jokesh stated that, this person is coming. Yes, this person has years of experience. But first of all, is the years of experience in your organization? No. Does the person understand your systems, processes, procedures? No. So you first of all even have to give people the opportunity to understand how you do business,
Very important.
the realities that comes with working with your specific industry and organization, right? Because it's weird to hear that, oh, you're putting someone who hasn't even been confirmed on PIP. And in my head, it's like, you haven't even done 1 year performance appraisal for this person. And you're saying this person on PIP. How?
There will not even be need to even put somebody who hasn't been confirmed on a PIP.
Exactly, because the confirmation process is supposed to tell you that, oh, this person didn't really do very well and yada, yada, yada. It's really just weird that, line managers really do a lot of crazy things. And at the end of the day, HR gets blamed for it. It's always, oh, HR does this.
HR gets blamed for everything.
HR does that. HR does this. So I'm just going to quickly tell the story. I had a friend who was working with one of a very popular organization here in Nigeria, right? And was given task to accomplish, right? Again, he's a manager. He assigns the task. However, the organization did not provide, required items or tools to actually achieve this.
So how did they get it done?
They use their personal laptops, personal.
And this person works in a popular.
I'm not joking, right? And so again, because of a lot of these issues, they weren't able to achieve. Remember, this person is just working there for 6 months, and the next thing is they put him on PIP.
That's preposterous.
But hold on, right? Where I got really mad is, so I tell him that, okay, your line manager has put you on PIP. What's your human resource department saying about it? And the girl says she doesn't know.
Huh?
I was like, wait, hold on, what? He actually resigned and left the organization.
Best thing.
But the entire process really just blew my mind.
But could it be a case of they wanted to actually let this person go?
I think so. And they were just using, PIP as the plan. And that's where it's ridiculous, because PIP is not the first step to termination. PIP is an intervention. PIP is supposed to be, oh, you're not doing very well. What support do you need? How can we help you to do better so that you can move on from PIP and become the high flyer that you actually are?
And PIP is just a way. It's just a way of the company showing you that they are genuinely interested in
your
success,
development.
in your development.
Exactly.
It's not always a bad thing. Or why am I even saying the word always? It's not a bad thing, because no one is perfect. Life happens to people sometimes, and for some people, it's not a case of they don't know anything, or they don't know their job. It could just be lifing at that point in time. And it's the reason why we keep saying that line managers, you need to support, because if someone isn't doing well, the first thing isn't even to throw jabs and say, oh, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, this was crowded. First of all, especially if it's from a high flyer, what's going on? Are you okay? This is not you. Give them a level of comfort so that they can speak to you. Line managers, honestly, you guys, I'm sure that you guys always feel that HR always comes down on you guys. But you guys are like the determinant of employee retention, in case you do not know. Because line managers, you guys are leadership. Yes, we have the executive, but however, you are the first point of leadership. If you guys are like the major determinants of retention. So first of all, ask questions. Understand what's going on. The first thing to do isn't just to start PIP.
True.
Speak to them. Give them some time to come around, and then that would happen.
So have you ever had a situation where, someone was placed in PIP and the person turned around and started, performing as well as he should?
To be honest, I haven't had a lot of that. The ones that I have probably experienced are when it's used as a tool for exit. That's what I've experienced, where a line manager has maybe complained about someone's performance. And as usual, HR has said, have you had conversations with the person? Is it also documented? Right? Another thing I also noticed is that line managers also don't want to do PIP because you know that it's a structured process that involves their full attention. So it's almost like babying somebody, in my opinion. It's not a bad thing. When I'm saying babying someone, I mean
you have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional.
That person at that
exactly.
Time.
So I feel like line managers don't even want to do PIP. If it was up to them,
they wouldn't do.
They wouldn't do. So it was a case of a line manager reaching out and saying, "Oh, this person isn't performing well," and then as usual, have you had conversations with the person? Is it documented? Do they have this feedback as well? Because I mean, line managers, it's one thing to speak to HR and not give the feedback to the actual person who actually needs it. And then this had happened, and then a couple of times, and it was documented. The line manager had shared a couple of emails, a couple of feedback sessions with the person. So it was then decided that, okay, let's have a PIP. I think it was because another thing, I think also forgot to mention the fact that it's for different periods of time. We have 30, 60, and 90 days. I think the max is
90.
I think the max is 90 days exactly. And I think we decided 60 days because this is someone, in fact, this person I'm talking about is someone who, during their appraisal, they are getting 90%.
Over 100.
And then along the line, there's been this issue. Well, okay, let's do PIP. This is the case of maybe something wrong with this person.
Went wrong,
exactly. Yeah. And then, of course, the line manager, of course, HR as usual, we send out the document, basically listing out what the process should look like. And the line manager went silent for like a long period of time. And then I had to follow up and say, what's the update on this? This PIP hasn't started. I hope you know that if we don't do this, we don't have enough information or enough data to determine
to move forward with
and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
The line manager ghosted me. Let me use the word ghosted. Nothing. And then suddenly the CEO calls me one day and says, this person needs to be fired. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, the line manager's giving this feedback. She's the clog in the wheel, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no. So I gave her the lowdown, like, no, that's not going to happen. We've had conversations. We are supposed to do a PIP and it hasn't been done. So my point is, if I acted like the HR of your friend and said, oh, I don't know. Oh, yes, let's fire the person. That's how the person would have gone. And then eventually the person didn't even stay because the moment we actually initiated the PIP, the person resigned.
And left.
And I feel that, and I think that that's also like a general misconception where for employees as well, you assume that once they say it's PIP, you assume that, oh my God, they want to fire me.
Mm-hmm.
So the person, because we gave the person the information, say today, the person resigned the following day.
That's crazy. And first of all, I literally just had to say that HR worldwide, we need to do better.
Mm.
Like, it's okay when we have terrible line managers, terrible management team, but it's so much worse when we have HR team that's not doing what they need to do, that's not kicking back when they need to kick back, that's just a yes man or yes woman. We do need to do better. My experience with PIP has actually been good. The two times that I actually have, been in the entire process of PIP, the first time it actually revealed that the line manager was the problem.
Oh wow, tell me about that.
So the line manager had to come and said, oh, you know what, this person needs to go. Okay, so the group head HR then said, okay, you know what, let's put this person on PIP. She herself specifically had conversations with this person, used to do very well, like, what's the problem? Yes, like And the person says, oh, it's my line manager that's the problem. He would say do this today and tomorrow he would say do some other things. There is no clear direction. You're doing one thing today. He's coming to say no. He's saying this person needs that. He's not letting you do the work. So the woman says, okay, thank you. However, you should have come up with this, information prior. However, this is the information we've gotten. This is your performance so far. I'm going to put you on PIP. These are your KPIs. These are the targets that you need to meet. These are So into the KPI, right? Immediately there's an issue. The boy starts to document, saying, oh, This is what you asked me to do. This is what my line manager is doing. This is how he's being a clog in the wheel. This is how it's not helping me do all the work. So after the 3 months, right? And they come back to reassess and reevaluate his performance. And we're saying that line manager, yeah, the problem. Yeah, actually the problem, and so the line manager gets a warning.
Okay.
And this person goes back to being the performer that he is.
Oh, that's
and
good.
it was such an amazing thing. Then the second scenario was this person, I think he lost someone, right? And so it really just it messed him up for a while because I think it was his father or something, right? And so he couldn't work well, but he also did not communicate that, oh, this was what. So they put him on
shut down.
Yeah, so they just put him on PIP. However, he had a conversation with his HRBP at the time. So then we got to find out that, oh, he lost somebody, right?
So basically, these are informations that the line manager did not have.
Exactly, right? And it was, again, also employees actually do need to communicate. If you do not communicate, we would not know, because he should not even have been placed on PIP. If anything, he needed help at that time.
Which is fine, but it still boils down to the line manager.
But his line manager wasn't even aware.
That's what I'm saying. The line manager actually speak to him to ask him, are you okay? Especially if it's someone that you just said is a spark, like an eye flyer. What's going on? It was like what you said your HR the HRPP did. It's like, what's going on with you? I know you to be what a eye flyer. What's going on? And then you cannot just sit down in your office and just say somebody's not doing well.
And then next PIP.
Or you say the person's not doing well. No, that's I always tell line managers that you people are like caretakers. You don't know.
They are actually caretakers. They are not like they are
like
actually
mommies and daddies of these people.
Exactly. And I think that employees also do not even realize that. Do you understand? The first thing they have a problem, and the first thing they're going to meet is like HR.
I think it's because, so for you and me, for instance, right? I'm your line manager. I don't think there's anything that you cannot say to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a case of line managers also showing their team members that you can talk to me. Everything is not about authority, direction. Provide that avenue, right? Where people feel like, oh, this is my line manager, but I can speak to him. This is my line manager, but he's my guy. You get what I mean? Right? You and I have this, you and I have episodes where, you have to do something, I tell you to do something, but it doesn't take away the fact that it's the workspace. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So line managers need to, will I use the word, I don't want to use the word soft. You don't have to be soft, right? But just, what's the word to use now? Just provide an avenue for your people to be able to speak to you, because he went to meet his HR and told the HR. Why couldn't he do that as a line manager?
That's a valid point of view to have. However, I still believe that regardless of if you think that your line manager is approachable or not, there are conversations that you should first of all have with your line manager before moving it to human resource.
Exactly.
I do agree with that.
Exactly. That's where and I feel like HR as well, you people too. People too. When people come and meet you and tell you something, the first thing to do would be to say, is your line manager aware?
Exactly.
Don't just what jump on the bandwagon and say, oh,
start moving
without. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's the thing where, guys, we need to collaborate. Line managers, HR.
We do need to collaborate better, because a lot of times I've seen how, employees go meet HR and HR starts to work on it.
Straight up.
And you don't carry the line manager along. You don't do anything. For instance, an employee comes to the HR manager and say, oh, I want to move to a different department. And boom, you start working on it. You don't even first go meet the line manager that, or even tell the person okay, you need to go tell your line manager that, oh, this is the next step. This is what you want to do. This is where you are thinking about. The next thing is you're moving and like, you even moved the person from the department before they come and notify the line manager that, oh,
that one is wild though.
It is actually. That's
wild.
And so, to be honest, human resource department, we need to do better. We need to, first of all, ingrain it into the minds and hearts of people that there is process and procedures to doing things. Your line manager has to be your first call of duty. Your line manager has to be the first person you're telling things before it gets to HR. However, please, we need to be careful, because people can be very funny. When there are confidential things that you don't want your line managers to know about, it's fine to come directly to human resource department. Although this doesn't contain performance improvement plans, because your performance improvement plans has to go through your line managers first. Do you want to start us off with what a good structured PIP should look like, and when should employees be boarded in the entire PIP process?
Okay, so ideally, a structured PIP, what it looks like basically is, first of all, their feedback from your line manager around your performance, documented feedback, but that you're also aware of. So it's not a case of somebody coming to
quickly
VIP and you don't know anything.
quickly actually cut into that.
Yeah.
As an employee, before you actually get to PIP stage, you should know.
You should know.
Because you should have been getting feedback that your performance, so that
they won't kind.
Do you understand? But anytime you all of a sudden they just tell you, boom, we're taking you into PIP, that's a red flag.
And you're like, PIP, how do you mean?
Because you're meeting your target, you're doing everything that you need to do.
Even if you're not meeting your target, if you don't have any
feedback,
any information around it, don't do it.
As much as I agree, but even if you as an employee know that, oh, you're supposed to do this and you're not,
how are you supposed to know if there's no feedback? Precious, you tell me to do a report, I do a report for you. There's no feedback on if it is good or it's not good.
At the beginning of the year, everybody knows what their performance goal or like KPI for the year is. So you know that, oh, you're supposed to bring 30 million naira into the company and you brought 2 million by November.
So are you
don't need feedback at that point.
HR, I hear you, but are you saying that, yes, I don't need feedback, but I still don't know anything? Do you know what I'm going through? Do you know so it means that as my line manager, you're not even asking me. Imagine what are you what are you even talking about?
I agree with you. However, I'm still saying that life is lifing you to the extent that 30 million naira, you're bringing only 3 million naira at the end of the year.
No, I hear you, but I'm saying that we've not even had conversations. What if I need support?
Then why didn't you speak up?
Okay, no.
Exactly. So the employee should have spoken up.
So it's a two-way thing.
I
haven't spoken up. Laman also hasn't said anything to me.
So both of you already know that there's a problem, so that if you hear PIP,
but that one is even wild.
Exactly.
Isn't communicating.
Laman did not come. So that when you see PIP, you know that two of you
go.
Yeah, that's it.
They want to do the PIP, in my opinion.
So what are the best practices on carrying out PIP?
First of all, like I just mentioned, feedback with the person so that the person is aware, right? Person's aware of what's going on, right? And also, I mean, I always say this on this podcast: documented feedback, because it's your word against somebody else's word, right? Documented feedback, email trails, of these conversations, and then when you then eventually get to the point of PIP, ensure that you set specific, smart goals, basically. What's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, right? And then it also has to be documented. There's usually, so for us, for instance, we have there's a template around it, right? So basically where you outline all of the targets, right? And then you put time, action plans and timelines around it. And also specific periods of time as well, right? And then once we have done that, and then you've had a meeting with the person understands what's required of them, and also in collaboration with HR. You can't do PIP on your own as a line manager. HR has to be in the conversation because HR is the one who would actually even initiate it. Please, support is very important, and check-ins. You can't put somebody on, even if it's a 2-week PIP plan, you can't put somebody on a PIP plan for 2 weeks and not checking on them. Because at that point, that person is literally your baby. You're checking in on all of the things that have been identified to be done. You're checking in how, and I'm not saying micromanaging, because I mean, there's a thin line between micromanaging and check-ins, right? But you're checking in, you're having regular feedback sessions, right? And you're also providing support. And when I say support, it's almost like the person is at that point, right? It's almost like the person is job shadowing you at that point. The person is almost like your child. You are around them 24/7, ensuring that they have all that is required of them. And then, like I mentioned, also setting a structured timeline around reviews and feedback. You're having meetings, the person is talking to you, you're talking to the person, okay, I've been able to do this, but however, this one I've been able to do because of X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
You as line manager, okay, thanks for this information. I will support you with this, this is what you need to do. And not all of those things, and before you know it, if the person is also intentional with their success as well, do you understand? It would pick up. It's only if maybe there are other things going on. However, the red flag that you should notice if there's a PIP, if a PIP has been set for you, is if, number one, it's not structured. They just talk to you around it. Oh, Precious, you're not doing well. We need you to do. But there's nothing. There's no document. It is not clearly outlined for you, right?
I feel like the very first red flag is there's no history that requires you actually.
But I said that already now.
Yeah.
Feedback.
There's actually no history
You see?
requiring you to do
So that
this.
you actually
PIP.
agree with me.
No, I mean history. So if I don't achieve my target, that's
Mhm.
history enough. I know, for instance, you tell me, oh, attrition is supposed to be 2%, and my attrition is like at a 59%. I don't think you need to come back to tell me that, oh, Precious, you're not performing very well, because to me, I see it.
But what if I tell you that my reason for not performing well is because I don't have your support?
But have you spoken up about the support previously?
I was scared to talk to you.
You were scared to talk to your line manager.
Yeah, because you scared me.
So that is workplace toxicness. If we're able to actually
Because Precious, how do you want to put me on PIP if you and I haven't had any conversations? Do you get what I mean? I feel like that is maybe 1 out of 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time, maybe what you will not have will be documented conversations, but at least verbal ones you would have had. Do you get what I mean?
I get what you mean.
Because I was talking to an employee before who the line manager had given me the feedback, right? And because the line manager was like in the management team, right? I mean, I had to give the feedback to the person. And the person was stunned. Huh? Me?
But did the person bring again? Remember that performance is saying that you're not meeting XYZ. Does the person have evidence of meeting XYZ?
The person has evidence of working.
Again, as much as I do agree with you, right, that there has to be communication,
Mhm.
I do agree with that. However, at the beginning of every year, right, or even again, because you're supposed to do biannual check-in for your goals, you have said, oh, you're supposed to achieve this. After 9 months, you did not achieve this. You did not come back to say, oh, this is why I haven't been able to achieve this. This is what's happening. This is where I am. By yourself, you should know that when they are rating you after the year end, you would know that your rating would be big.
I hear you, Precious, and you are totally on point. But I am saying that there are cases where, yes, the person is not meeting the target, no doubt, but they don't have any feedback.
They don't have any feedback from their line manager.
My line manager.
But why are they not meeting their target?
You're not listening. Yeah, it's like I just run away from this conversation.
No, I'm not. They themselves, why are they not meeting their target? Is there a specific issue that's stopping them from meeting it? Are they escalating these issues that, oh, I'm not meeting this target, so this was affecting me, XYZ. So that at the end of the day, when you're rating me, you will not be telling me that, oh, I'm not meeting my targets.
Why do they don't know that they're supposed to speak to the line manager? This is a junior employee. I don't understand. What they don't know that if
it's supposed to speak to your line manager if you are not meeting the target?
Are you saying that you haven't come around employee who say they don't know these things? We've just talked about people just matching to HR and not speaking to their line managers.
Okay, I see that point.
You're not no doubt, but I'm saying that where is the check-in with you? Because you can't even put somebody on PIP if you haven't even done anything about it yourself in the first place. How about that?
Remember that I'm talking about year-end performance, because again, it's your year-end performance that would now say, oh, this person didn't meet this target. So
not necessarily now. What about,
that's the part that I'm addressing right now with
got it.
Not meeting your target till the end of the year. Yeah. Okay, so now we want to talk about what employees should do when they've been told, oh, you're going to place on PIP. So the first thing that you must
be calm.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
You have to, first of all, my first advice is, first of all, understand why you have been placed on PIP. So if they say, oh, Precious, you didn't meet your target, go back and say, oh, did I not meet my target? Oh, so if you have evidence that you meet your target, right, come back to the drawing table and say, oh, you say I didn't do this, but this is my evidence. I did X, Y, Z. I achieved this, that. However, in situations where indeed you actually did not achieve it, you have to stay professional, be open to feedback, and be calm and be like, oh, okay, yes, I understand this. Oh, yes, I understand this, Again, if you're not certain about anything they are saying to you during this entire process, you need to always ask questions. Because a lot of times people just say, there's nothing I can do. I've been placed on PIP. I'm just going to accept it. But if you had asked questions, you'd have been able to actually clarify and say, oh, no, this doesn't really affect me. This should not be my situation. I've actually had a situation where an employee was told that he didn't perform very well. And he said, oh,
what's an evidence, right?
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
No, don't tell me that. And, they had to now reevaluate him. And he wasn't placed.
Imagine. So if you didn't have that information, that's the way you just be on PIP.
PIP, exactly.
Oh, God.
And I feel like there's so much dysfunction in corporate world.
I'm telling you.
There's so much dysfunction.
Because is it possible that there are people who have been placed on PIP for no good reason. Yeah.
It's very possible. It's actually very possible. And again, it still boils down to the line managers, then also HR.
Please, before you say that, employees as well. I've seen somebody want to do somebody who was asking for a confirmation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you know how the old documentation around that, right?
Yeah.
Where you have to so basically you're supposed to, so at that period of time, right, there would have been targets for you to, fulfill, right?
Yeah.
And you know how JDs typically have like all the things that you need. Some don't, but most of the time, most JDs. Another thing is that JDs should always include people's KPIs, right? So that from the onset they know. They already know. This girl was telling me that you don't give her KPI.
Eh? I'm sorry.
This girl said that they don't give her KPI. I said, huh? Who didn't give you KPI? I said, do you have JD? She said, yes. I said, so on the JD, there's no KPI. She said, no. I said, go and bring the JD. I said, and she was like, oh. So I was like, now that you say you don't have KPI, how is your line manager supposed to
rate you?
So they didn't give her. What? It's a problem of both line manager and
actually.
Because so you've been working.
Exactly.
So what have you been doing? How do you measure yourself? She said, oh, she has a documented achievement. I said, okay, good. Go and use it, but please ensure that it aligns with
your
this
KPI.
So the one that you're doing another, you say, your KPI is what you're going to be judged by. People know this. Your KPI is what you're going to be judged by.
And it also goes to the point, if you join an organization and they do not give you a KPI, that's a red flag.
Some people, they give that. I don't think they even know the meaning of KPI. How about that?
Key performance indicator. So it's very important that, these are the things that you actually need to ask for. What am I going to be measured by? What are you guys going to be measuring me by? Then as an employee, when you've been placed on PIP, what should you do? Develop your action plan. If they say, Precious, achieve ABC, ensure that you're developing a plan to achieve this ABC. As you're going about it, if there are roadblockers, if there are any things that are affecting you, speak up
and seek support.
Speak up quickly. If you need anything, speak to your line manager. Now that you've been placed on PIP, also carry HR along, right? Then also document things. I cannot overemphasize the need to document things. You have to be able to say, oh, this is what I have done. This is what I am doing. Even as an employee, like I learned this in my very early career, right? You need to always be documenting things that you're doing, because sometimes you yourself, you're human, you would forget. But if you're able to say, oh, I initiated this, I implemented this initiative, I brought this about. Even you yourself, you'll be very surprised at how hard you're working and how much work you're putting into developing yourself. And in situations where, you do not have good support system, you don't have a good HR, consider alternative options. If you believe that, this PIP system that has been set up is unfair or unrealistic for you, it's best that you start exploring other career opportunities. However, again, this is a charge to HR and line managers. We need to do better. We need to actually do better. Again, I feel that a lot of this falls on our table. We need to treat employees better. We need to do our task better. We are leaders in our own right, and we need to start leading.
Good. I hope that we have been able to shed light on what an ideal PIP process
should be.
Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in.
It's also important to state that PIP should be genuine support. Yes, have we seen situations where it is the first step to terminating people? Yes. However, the idea of PIP is that it's supposed to be a genuine support to people. That has brought us to the end of this episode. We do hope that it has been insightful, engaging, and you have learned a thing or two about, what the proper process of performance improvement plans should be.
Thank you for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you guys next time. And that's a wrap on today's episode. We laughed, we learned, and hopefully, just hopefully, we have changed the way you see HR for good.
if you love this episode, even if you just mildly enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends, your co-workers. Remember, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, and Jam It.
Until next time, keep thriving, keep surviving, and remember, HR is beyond just hiring and firing of tools for the management.
Catch you on the next one.
Bye.